What's going on, everybody? It's LtBuzzLitebeer, and since the last few rounds of changes with Outriders, I have finally started to get those last bits and pieces I was so desperately searching for before putting together more build guides. And today, I wanted to bring you this nasty tank Pyro FASER Beam setup, as it can absolutely chew through enemy targets, including bosses, and as of June 10th, the FASER Beam skill got a massive 100% damage increase, along with the change that it now scales more with increased anomaly power. But before we get into this build guide, in case you haven't yet smashed that sub button, please do so, and don't forget to ring the bell to receive all future upload notifications from my channel. Let's get this one going. Now, unlike my last AP Pyro Ash Blast build, which was essentially a glass cannon anomaly build, this Pyro FASER Beam build is much beefier, and it can really tank a lot of damage while mixing it up in close quarters. So let's first start off with the class tree, and just so you remember that by selecting the Pyromancer class, it already begins with 10% anomaly power just baked in. So for this setup, we're going to be spending the majority of our class points in the middle Firestorm tree, and it may seem a bit odd at first because you're probably thinking we should be down in the Tempest tree, but it will all make sense in just a moment. So first, take Magma Golem for more health, Warm Up for Ignite skills cooldowns, Magma Golem again, and then head straight down for the first major node of Wildfire, which will give this build a 10% skill cooldown reduction on all skills. Next, keep heading out the tree and take Meltdown for more damage on targets afflicted with burn, Magma Golem again, Master of Resistance, just to beef up our resistance to incoming AP damage, Magma Golem again, Unquenchable for a bit of skill leech, Magma Golem yet again, and then another point into Unquenchable. From here, head straight up and take Anomalous Lava for a huge armor gain every time you activate an Ignite skill. Head out again and take Fuel for the Embers, major node, to really stack on skill leech if we fall below 30% health, Trial by Fire for even more damage versus targets afflicted with burn, Warm Up yet again for more Ignite skill cooldowns, and finally go ahead and unlock the master node of Magma Elemental for 45% buffs to both armor piercing and resistance piercing once we activate that Ignite skill. Now, you should have 4 points left, so backtrack and take the major node of Extinction for increased damage versus severely wounded enemies, and then head all the way back to the start of the class tree and take Archmage for more AP, World Ablaze for a 15% cooldown reduction on all explosive skills, and finally, spend your last point on Mark's Accumulation. Now, once again, I know it looks really suspect the way it is set up, but trust me when I say that this setup will not only take huge amounts of damage, but dish it right back at all your targets. So here's what the class tree looks like when fully spec'd out. Next up are the skills, and we are again going to be using Heatwave with a Pyro setup. Now, paired with our mods and the class tree nodes we have chosen, we will do decent amounts of damage initially to targets just using the Burn Affliction. However, when paired with our gear and mods, Heatwave is how we charge up our anomaly power before finally unleashing our second and third skills, which really pack on the damage. Next in the skill rotation is Thermal Bomb, which can be used to interrupt enemy targets as they attempt to charge up their attacks. But the real justification behind Thermal Bomb, besides the damage output, is that it, along with FASER Beam, really juices up our allies' damage versus targets. How much, you ask? Try 155% damage increases for all allies, making this Pyro tank the ultimate class support setup. Now, the final skill, which I already mentioned, is FASER Beam, which got that huge double base damage buff earlier in June. Now, FASER Beam scales with status power. It inflicts burn and can cause interrupts on enemy attack charge-ups. Once fully powered up with lots of Heatwave AP and a couple of thermal bombs, FASER Beam turns into a death ray that can down most targets in a single shot. Really, the only downside, and don't get me wrong, this is a huge downside to FASER Beam, is the cast time, which takes something like 3 seconds and leaves you fully exposed to incoming enemy damage. Moving on to the weaponry, and we will be using LMGs while in close to supplement a bit of our close quarters damage output, especially when our skills need a few seconds to come back off of cooldown. So for this one, go with the Damascus Offering and the Roaring Umbra. I know, right? Something other than a death shield, but not so fast, because we will need to have broken down a death shield in order to have Fortress in our mod library. Now for the Damascus offering, keep Claymore Torrent and add on Fortress. For the Roaring Umbra, keep Kinetic Stomp and again, add on Fortress. Now both of these weapons' primary tier 3 mods have 4-second cooldowns, so you just start off with one, fire it for a few seconds to get the elemental effect, then switch to the next one and fire that one, again getting the effects to proc. For the gear, you will want to start off with the Akari mask, which can be purchased at Tiago or just looted, and this mask comes standard with AP, Skills Life Leech, and Status Power, which pair nicely with our build concept. Now, FYI, you will not need to have these mods on the same gear pieces as I am showing you, but you will want these exact mods somewhere on your builds. So, on the mask, I have left Fire Tsunami in place for the increased width of firewall, and then I have added on Branded, which is a tier 3 mod found only on the armor of the Reforged. Branded will allow targets hit with a thermal bomb to take an additional 40% damage from all sources. For the body armor, go with the Armor of the Akari, which again brings more AP, Skills Life Leech, and cooldown reduction as the attributes. Now normally, Detonator is the tier 3 mod found on this armor piece, but I have elected to replace it with another tier 3 mod, Double Fun, found on the Cowl of the Reforged. Now this mod allows us to send out 2 thermal bombs and can be stacked onto a single target for even more target damage buffs. Tidal Wave, which is a tier 1 pyro mod that comes standard on the armor of the Akari, works perfectly with this build, so just leave it in place. For the lower body armor, I used a looted piece with AP, Healing Received, and Skills Life Leech, and these are not the ideal attributes, as what you really want is AP, Status Power, and cooldown reduction, and I will be on the hunt for those pants. Now for the mods, I am using Burnt Out, which is a tier 1 pyro class mod, along with Twice as Hot, which is a general tier 2 mod. Burnt Out makes all targets hit with a heat wave receive 25% more damage from all sources and can be stacked, while Twice as Hot inflicts extra damage to all enemies afflicted with burn whenever you activate a skill. The gloves are also looted, and mine have AP, cooldown reduction, and Skills Life Leech. And in the future, I will be hunting for gloves with Status Power to replace Skills Life Leech. Now, skills for this piece are Fire Frenzy and Captain Hunter. Fire Frenzy is easily found as a tier 1 pyro class mod and gives us another thermal bomb activation, giving the build 2 in total. Captain Hunter really allows us to hit those elites for extra damage, to be exact 25% more damage, and can be found on the gauntlets of the Cannonball. And finally, the boots, and we are going with our third piece of Akari, which features max health, Skills Life Leech, and cooldown reduction for the attributes. Now these boots would normally come with the tier 3 Master Consumer mod, but for this build, I have replaced it with Size Matters, a tier 1 pyro class mod, and this will increase the phaser beam's radius by 100%. And when you see that spiral emanating around the center beam, that is due to the Size Matters mod being equipped on our gear. Hellfire comes standard on the Akari boots and stacks on additional damage if the skill damages 3 enemies. Here are the raw stats on this setup, and like the AP Pyro Ash build, when you initially look them over, they don't just jump off the page at you. But when you get your heat wave out there and hitting large amounts of targets, stacking on huge amounts of AP via the Akari gear set bonuses, and then you activate your thermal bombs, and finally you get out that final phaser beam, this build can really push out decent amounts of damage. Now what really makes it valuable is just how much it will benefit the entire squad by adding huge amounts of bonus damage to targets and allow those targets to be damaged by all sources. Now, skill sequencing is important to stack the damage buffs, and it begins with hitting as many targets as possible with your double heat waves. Next, fire out those thermal bombs at either random targets like alphas or double stack them onto a single target like a boss for extra incoming damage buffs. Finally, make sure you're in a semi-safe position and then light up that phaser beam in the general area of as many targets as you can hit. Remember that you always have your double LMGs there with elemental effects, and also remember to rotate back and forth between them to allow the effects to reset the 4-second cooldowns as quickly as possible. Don't be afraid to get in close to your targets, as you have plenty of HP and health regen through those leech effects. Get those debuffs flying out to targets, and not only you will benefit, but anyone on your squad will as well. As I always do at the end of my Outriders videos, I wanted to invite you all to join our community Discord server. Just check in this video description, click on the open invite link, accept those rules, and you are in. Once there, one of our knowledgeable mods will get you pointed in the right direction, and we've got channels for everything Outriders, including free chat rooms, and LFG, or looking for group areas for both carries and farming. Don't get frustrated with the broken matchmaker mechanics. Join our Discord and be in a group, on mics, in a chat room, enjoying this game the way it was intended to be experienced. In our Discord, we've got every angle of Outriders covered for you, and a whole lot more. Before I go, I wanted to say that one of our own, Tony Schur, aka Thick44, and part of the awesome Neebs Gaming channel, was just recently diagnosed with a brain tumor. And I can't express how much I have enjoyed the content this organization has created, especially their iconic Battlefield series, Battlefield Friends, which so perfectly captured all the insanity Battlefield 3 was known for. Now, I have included a link to the Neebs Gaming channel and a link to a GoFundMe created for Tony and his massive incoming health cost. He has already entered the hospital to have the tumor removed and will need as much assistance as possible during his recovery. Please check out the GoFundMe, donate whatever you can, and send along kind words and prayers for a speedy recovery. To end, I look forward to reading your feedback in the comment section below. In case you haven't yet done so, please smash that sub button and ring the bell to receive those future upload notifications. If you would be so kind, please rate and/or share this video, as it would be greatly appreciated. Don't forget to find and follow me on Twitch for weekly Outrider CT carries with viewers. Join my aforementioned Discord server for all things Outriders, and follow me over on Twitter for all my posts on most things gaming related. Links to all of these platforms in the video description. Until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer, signing off.